So we recently released our rotational knives, and there's some questions as to where the designs came from. So we have the Roni, or the rotational Oni, and we're just going to show the chain of custody. So this right here is the Tengu chassis, which the first time it appears online is in early 2021. So that was put out because during the vid, there was guys like Fat Tony and stuff like that out there that are stuck inside. They just kind of want to go through and do a knife. And so we went through and made it so that there's a chassis. This is one I wrapped with some paracord, just melted and sealed it. This is actually based off of the CRKT Obaki, which is a type of knife called a Ikuchi. So we went through and added this guard, which typically isn't there. So we started working on that late 2020. It pops up online early 2021, if you want to go back and look on our Instagram feed. So we were interested in throwing. We went through and had a version done that was solid. And just to kind of see how it was, there was also a version that a skeletonized handle, just kind of testing them back and forth to see which worked what way. Then fast forward, we come in contact with the Danger Dylan, aka Full Tank Clan. So we started going through and playing with his Danger Dashi design. This is a fast Dashi in 6mm, which has a fuller on the spine. It's also available at 5mm. And so we wanted to go through and shrink down this 10.5 inch to make it something that was a little closer to kind of our ninjutsu roots. So we went through, in the 8.5 inches of Danger, which we had mentioned in a previous video, was born. The original one was around 6mm, which this is the original concept for it. When I went to go through and manufacture them, it wasn't available, so we wound up doing the initial ones in 3/8. This is a second gen, which has a fuller on the spine. First gen doesn't, and a slightly different finish. At the same time that the 8.5 inches of Danger was done, we also had the Tengu Kudaki done. So Tengu means demon and Kudaki means crusher. So the Kudaki series was born. This one is also in the same 3/8 or 9.5mm 80 CRB. So then when we go through and we fast forward, we wound up going through and doing a 1/4 inch version of the 1/4 inch version or 6mm version of the 8.5 inches of Danger, which we see here. Done at the same time, we also did the same thickness of the Tengu with a fuller on the spine. So there's a little bit of kind of questions. Some people like the slot, some people don't. One of the things that's neat about the slot is it goes through and rings like a bell, right? So there were some questions about, could we do it without that? Absolutely we could. So then we had the Oni, and the Oni was born. So we had the Oni Kudaki Demon Crusher that we see here, right? Same as the Tengu, except it's got a filled-in handle. Just to backtrack, the difference between the Tengu chassis and the originals were that they're actually longer, right? So it's stretched out a little bit further just to kind of make it, because otherwise it was too stocky when we went to the thicker stock, right? So it wouldn't be able to penetrate the way we needed it to, so we elongated that. Sorry, just to get back on track. So we have the Oni, we have the Oni Kudaki, which is the Demon Crusher. Oni is just another type of demon. Oni Kudaki is also a technique within Bujinkan Ninjutsu, right? Which is kind of where that name comes from. We then have the 6mm version with the fuller, right? Did those parallel. And then going through and talking to some of the guys who are now on the red team, our resident Japanophile, Oki, wanted to know if we could go through and do a full-size version. So we did a 10 inch or a 255mm version of both the Tengu, right, and the Oni, which we call the O-Oni, or sorry, the O-Tengu and the O-Oni. So available in 6mm and 5mm. So we have the Oni and the O-Oni based on the length, right? And then so we had that done in 2 different thicknesses. The big difference is the fuller on the spine. Then kind of fast forward, and it was brought to our attention that really the only thing D2A was lacking was a rotational type of design. We didn't have any rotational flavors. So we went through and said, hey, we got you. We'll go through and we'll scale up the Oni design, right? Because guys weren't really big on the handle being skeletonized, and we wanted to have the bulk of the weight back here in the handle so that when this rotates, that it rotates more with the blade so it's easier to catch. So then we had the Roni. The Roni is the rotational Oni. So we have a 12mm, or it's about 305, or sorry, we have the 12 inch, about 305mm, and then we have the 330mm, or about 13 inches. And then we go through and we start getting into our 355mm, which is 14 inches. Right, so we had that, we did them, so they're available in 5mm and in 4mm, special request from Danger. Now, because Danger is my big brother in throwing, we wound up doing what we call the Dilo. So we took, right, which we see over here. So the Dilo is the same profile. We'll take the 14. It's the same profile, same handle, everything as the Roni. So this is the 14 or the 355, right? Everything is the same, and then we just put a Kiridashi point on it. Now, because of the additional leverages, we had to scale that point back, so it's not quite a tanto, and it kind of wound up becoming elongated. Now, due to a little bit of miscommunication in manufacturing, initially, there wasn't supposed to be the belly here, right? But due to miscommunication manufacturing, we wound up going through and getting them where it had the belly as well as the point done, which wound up falling in line with what our resin Japanophile Oki, aka PA Ninja, was looking for a while. So we wound up going through and having the same guard that we've seen going all the way back to here. We can see the iteration, and then going through and combining really these two knives, right? And then we just elongated that out. So then we wind up having what we call the Dilo. Dilo in Cantonese means boss or big man or big brother or badass. And Danger's my big brother in throwing, kind of the guy that got me as far as I am now. And I consider him a good friend and a mentor. So this was named in his honor. And we have kind of a classic tanto mixed with the Americanized tanto. Straight down the back, there isn't the secondary grinds that we kind of see with some of them. I know Vapor Blades has, from Zach, he's got a version where he's got the secondary grind, where his point's kind of more on the center, has kind of a cool look to it as well. But that's how we went from the Tengu chassis that we started working on in late 2020, before I was even on the throwing scene, to coming out with the Dilo and the Ronis. Hope that helps.